So Nancy Grace did a piece last night, and she said there were two other survivors. There was Carolyn Andriano, and there was Lee Sky Patrick. Did
Yeah.
both?
Yeah.
Both.
And Ruslana, who was like Rapunzel. And with that, we can bring in Disney princesses, but let's bring that in next.
So what happened to Ruslana?
She jumped off a balcony in New York, apparently. A beautiful girl who was taken to Epstein Island. And that story always struck me so hard. And then I only found out years later that she was taken to Epstein Island. The most beautiful, stunning girl. She had hair, like long hair and stunning. They called her Rapunzel. And you know about the JP Morgan, you know how they had the code name Snow White, you know, Disney princesses. You know, and another creepy thing is that, well, you know, Virginia Gifford died on Alice Day. They've got a day called Alice Day, you know, which is to do with like Disney princesses and stuff, the 25th of April. And that's the day that Virginia Gifford was found dead. And Virginia Gifford always reminded Maria Farmer and I of Alice in Wonderland. Because, you know, Wonderland, the rabbit hole, it's, yeah.
So
Sorry.
you're okay. You're all right. You're fine. Take your time. Take your time. So, you know, we were talking about the first time Jeffrey got arrested, and it was in the news, and you know how you felt at that time, and then he got like a very light sentence, didn't he? Were you watching to see what sentence he got?
Yeah, I was. And you know, I actually saw him one time after that, because when I was in New York, like I said, I had the boyfriend. I contacted my a girl I'd made friends with who was working for him, and we were going for coffee because, you know, we sort of kept in touch. She was actually from South Africa. To be honest, I actually introduced her to him, and I always feel bad for that. But the thing is, she was older than me. She was about 26 when I introduced her, and he was looking for CVs. And I warned her before. I said, this man is going to make sexual advances at you. I warned her. And she said, don't worry, I can handle it. Her name's Sue Hamlin. She went and she worked for him for many years. They became very close. I think she made a lot of money off it all. I don't know. But anyway, she was a girl I knew from South Africa, and she approached me, asking me. I never approached her. And I was never paid money to introduce her to him either. We also sent my mum's friends CVs because, you know, some of my mum's single friends, you know, at the time we didn't know how evil he was. You know, I knew he was like taking great advantage of me and the other girls. But as a young girl from Africa, you know, where people are quite poor, you know, some of the people I know were like, wow, please introduce me to this man. So, you know, I sent my mum's friends CVs, and then also Sue's CV. And Sue ended up working for him, and she ended up staying there for very long. So anyway, you know, I would never want to drag Sue into this. Sue's been traumatized through it, and I don't even speak to Sue anymore. And, you know, I did warn her before she went, and I was never paid money for introducing her to him, and she stayed there for 20 years. You know, it was her choice. But anyway, we went out the one day for coffee. And then I think it was in like about 2009 or 2011. And then Epstein wanted to say hello to me when I went past to meet her, and we were going for coffee. And then he, I went and sat in his office with him. I mean, this is years after he molested me and everything. And I said, I'm sorry that he was sent to prison, because, you know, I was still like sort of sucked in with his thinking he was a decent person. Because, you know, when these people abuse you, they do that. And people need to realize that. You know, a lot of children get abused by parents. A lot of people get abused by people they trust. And it can really mess people's heads up, because when the person you're thinking you can trust abuses you, you know, and it's a big thing that needs to be actually dealt with, because it's very hard for people to speak out. And, you know, I never really trusted him, but unfortunately I was petrified by him. But when I asked him about prison, he just laughed, and he said, oh, no, he never went to prison. He said, no, he never got sent to prison. He just like laughed at me when I asked that. But that was the last time I ever saw him. But, you know, he also did send me Because when I was with my child's father didn't believe that I knew him because I said I know that man. And then I emailed him to prove it to my child's father that I knew him. And then he emailed me back asking me for news. And that was a month before he died. Because, I just had a baby and everything. I never ever sent him nude photos. And it was very weird that he suddenly asked for nude photos because he'd never asked for them before. But I always felt like he was watching me through my computer. Computers came out and everything. And I always felt he was so powerful, like he could see me. And that's why I used to almost email him to let him know, hi, I know you're watching me, But it's just, the whole thing's actually got so frightening and creepy. And, with Virginia Gifford being found dead, another thing I want to bring up is, who was this woman who was supposed to be staying with her? She had this carer, this woman who was about 70, the one who was apparently in the bus accident. Where was she when Virginia was found dead? Was she a carer or was she a handler? Where was she when this happened? And also, why did Virginia, who's 41, need a carer who's 70? It's suspicious. And Virginia and I used to speak a lot. We were on a group chat. We did many video calls. She's an amazing girl. Suddenly, I could only get in touch with her through her husband's email address. It's like she'd almost been cut off. I can imagine when someone's been put through so much pressure and standing up, against these people, the anxiety can kick in and people can be given pills. And it's very easy to kill people on pills, much like Elvis. There are a lot of celebrities who've been knocked off with pills. And that's why it's always best to stay off pills. Pills are a temporary measure, not a permanent one.
Yeah, well said. That's what I believe has happened as well. It's called pharmacide.
Yeah. Pharmacy. Yeah, pharmacy is pharmacy. Take away the P, it's pharmacy. Add an F, you've got pharmacy. Farm. Let food be their medicine, not the pills.
Yeah.
Pills are only for extreme circumstances. When someone really is not coping, then they need the pills. But not in general,
So when you were communicating with Virginia, did she tell you her dreams and hopes?
Well, she just used to speak about how she wanted to start this foundation and help other survivors. That's what Virginia wanted to do. And, that we used to speak often and, she was such an amazing friend to me. And then suddenly she went quiet and I sort of, I respected her privacy. I realized, okay, it's got too much because she's very much in the limelight. And so then I was given the email address to contact her through her husband's email and we used to chat. But then she just went completely quiet. And, I've been speaking about her online for a while. Even on X, I put out a post in December saying, where is she? I'm worried. Because, there was those photos of her on the Daily Mail where she's stumbling outside the court. And there are people trying to pick her up off the floor. And why did no one notice? Why did no one say anything? And where were the lawyers, these brave boys' lawyers, while she's falling outside the court? Where the fuck were they? Sorry to swear. But where were they? Because this girl's obviously been going through hell. And I can also see she's had domestic violence disputes and her children taken away. I can't, I'm not surprised after the pain she's been put through. And if she was put on pills, she's an amazing angel, but I can just only imagine what her family's been through too, because there's too much pressure on one woman to go through all of that without any fucking support. And I'm sorry to swear, but I will swear because it's necessary. Where was her support?
Well said, Juliette. What did you make? What did you make of the bus crash story?
Shaun, because when 2 weeks before Virginia passed away, someone actually messaged me on X, and they said she's going to die. It's witness protection. Roll with it. Well, that's the only thing that made me feel a little bit more reassured when she died. But the thing is, if they were going to put someone in witness protection program, they would make it a clean thing. It would be quick, not clean, but quick. They would say bus accident done or suicide. That's that. They're not going to drag it on like this. She was a woman crying out for help. putting out the things on Twitter, unless they've done this just to mess with our minds, I don't know. And also the photo that was put on Twitter, like she was almost already not alive. And then also saying that there was domestic violence and she got hurt, and it just doesn't make sense. Because witness protection, they wouldn't work it like that. I mean, surely these people are more intelligent than if they're going to do witness protection, CIA, FBI, who the fuck they are. They're going to make it quicker, and they're not going to drag it on like this. The girl was crying out for help. She was crying out for help. And whether she took her own life or not, she was murdered by them, because who the fuck gave her those pills? Is what I want to know. And why was no one there to protect her or help her after everything? So she was murdered, actually. She was definitely murdered. I hope to God she's alive in witness protection, but unfortunately, it doesn't make sense, because they would have made it, it wouldn't have been like so, like this. It would have been more. Anyway, I'm very, I'm terribly fucking upset. And, the other victims I'm also very worried about. The boys' lawyers represented Virginia Gaffer, Sarah Ransom, Maria Farmer, Annie Farmer, and I am in touch with Annie and Maria Farmer. I get emails through them. I haven't heard their voices, but, I'm in touch. Maria emails a lot. Sarah Ransom, I have heard nothing from in quite a while now. And she's also tried to kill herself before, and just makes me very frightened. Maria hasn't been well. Sarah Ransom's tried to kill herself. Virginia has killed herself. Sorry to go on. It's like,
I can imagine how scary that must be for all of the survivors when something like this happens. Everyone must be terrified, thinking, who's going to be next?
I don't even go out anymore, because, Shaun, I've had frightening incidents happen. The one night I went to visit a friend, I got followed home by a van. They were like flickering lights at me, trying to get me to pull over, like driving like this far behind my car. I just drove like crazy, and I got straight to where there were people, because I've been taught, I just know from the past, you go to where there are people immediately. If you're getting followed, you don't stop. You don't even go to a police station. You go to a gas station. You go to where there are people. So anyway, then the person sort of zoomed past. I've had my tires punctured. I've had my tires slashed. I've been followed by men wearing business suits taking photos of myself and my child on the beach. I literally don't even feel safe to leave my home anymore. Luckily, I live in a security estate in Africa, and, I've got there amazing people who know what's going on. My neighbors all know about it. But it's very worrying for other Epstein victims, because too many of them have been found dead, especially when the main ones who testify. Virginia testified. Carolyn Adriano testified. They're both dead. Not many women testified. Well, the ones who have testified seem to be found dead. And what does that tell you? It tells people not to testify, not to speak the truth. It tells you to keep quiet. Well, guess what? We're not listening. They can kill me. I don't care. I actually don't care anymore. I'm just like, I'm obviously scared and stuff, but I actually, as long as like it makes a difference, that's all I care about. And I will keep telling my truth. I will keep saying what happened to me, as every other victim should do, because there's strength in numbers, great strength in numbers, because there are more of us than there are of them.
Is that your main focus now, is the activism?
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, activism, I want to help people. I want to make the world a better place. But at the moment, I've been feeling a bit confused about how to go ahead with the threats and everything. But I want to speak out for victims. I suppose I can do it online, right? I can do it from my home on here. I don't need to leave my house. I've got my security dogs. I live in a security estate. So yes, activism is what I want. I want to speak out for all children who've been hurt. Anyone who hurts a child will be killed in their afterlife. There is such a thing as hell. by the way. So people must watch out.
Juliette, do you think there's two forces at work here whereby they've got the doctor or whoever giving Virginia, for example, the medication, but then there's another force at work, is the campaign to put the stress on the person, the trolling, the black ops, the following you around in your vehicle? Because when you put more stress on a person, sometimes
Definitely.
that person might want to take more medication.
Oh, you're right.
And then the more stress, more medication, more stress, more medication, and then bam, they're gone.
That's actually so genius that you said that, Shaun. You're quite right, because I'm sure she's been going through the same thing. It's like you get pushed and pushed, you know, till you're sort of pushed over the edge. And they do it in a sort of subtle way where you're like not sure. It's like, am I going mad or is this a threat? You know, and you know, especially with her being taken from her family and everything. Yeah. No, you know, these people are sneakier than what we can imagine. Also, don't forget that there is such a thing as dark magic, black magic, you know? What if they can actually curse someone to make them like, you know, we've got to be very strong mentally. We've got to keep like calling for angels and just to keep like, I don't know. That's the only thing I can do is just hope that angels help, you know? Because I actually do that. I call angels.
Did you ever see any Did you ever see any symbology or artifacts in Epstein's properties pertaining to dark magic?
Well, I saw the statue of Christ, you know, Christ dead on the cross, like life size. I took a photo of it in New Mexico. You know, yeah, there's definitely a lot more going on here, and I really wish I knew more, that I could tell people more, but I think we all have to find the pieces together. And it's like many pieces to a puzzle. But what I'm sure of is that there is such a thing as possession and demons, and that these people were very, very evil. You know, I very much believe in the rituals and the tunnels and all of that. Like I said, I wasn't actually taken into the tunnels, but I do have the memory waking up, and it would make sense if they're, you know, to take people's eggs and create their own farm of children. And also just as concubines. It sounds a disgusting thing I saw today, you know. A lot of these, they like to have like a young concubine. So, you know, if you take someone's egg and you raise a child and you make them think it's normal that they're there to have sex, the child knows nothing better than that. And it actually just makes me sick. I don't even want to talk about it. But, you know, it's
Juliette,
much like Westworld.
Have you contemplated who's behind these black ops now that Jeffrey's gone and Maxwell's inside? Because boys said that Virginia had been under pressure from what boys described as Epstein collaborators. And are these people whose names have been protected, who he collaborated with, and they're scared they're going to come out into the open? So they're putting pressure on survivors so these names never come out. Do you think that's what boys meant?
Yeah, very much so. You know, also, if they were selling eggs or anything, then no one will ever know who the perpetrators were. Because if they're buying people that never existed, then how, you know, like Westworld. You know, I was also taken to the governor of Bill Richardson, the governor of New Mexico's mansion, and he looked myself and Tila Davies up and down, and then him and Epstein went in and had a meeting with the vice president. And I smelt the same smell that I smelt when Clinton walks through the room by the hotel, like a smell of dead bodies and covered up with cleaning chemicals. I smelt it there again. So, you know, maybe they were looking at us to buy eggs. I don't know. Because think about it. If people are sickos and they want kids to fuck around with, sorry to swear again here, but it makes me very angry. How better a way than to steal someone's eggs, make your own babies? And fuck them for doing that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of research has been done around the New Mexico location and the baby farm stuff. Even with Virginia, you know, they were trying to impregnate her.
Yes, you're quite right. There was the same thing with Virginia.
So, Juliette, what message do you have then for survivors who are watching this and people who support you?
Well, I just want to say, stand up for yourself. Never let anyone get you down, and don't be frightened of people, because there are always amazing people out there to help. And as much as people tell you that they won't help, they will, believe me. So if anyone tries to hurt you, stand up against them. You get away from them as quickly as you can and find good people, find a good support system, because not everyone in this world is bad. And the more of us that stand up against them, the better, because there's safety in numbers. And the more people who are educated about what's been going on, I understand a lot of people are very busy with work. They're stuck on the hamster wheel of life. I understand that. People need to open up their minds and look into all theories. Look into all theories and decide what you feel makes sense. Because we've been lied to. You know, as far as this Epstein thing is going, there's a huge cover-up going on. They've lied to us. They won't release the Epstein list. They won't release the truth. You know, didn't Elon Musk and Trump promise that they were going to release the Epstein list? Well, guess what? Instead of the Epstein list being found, the fucking main Epstein victim was found dead. Sorry, Shaun.
No, it's facts. Well said. Yeah. So if people watching this video want to support you, Juliette, what links are we going to include? Are you on the socials?
Well, I'm on X, but, you know, they do take my accounts away. They've done it many times. You can always email me at juliette@bryant@gmail.com, because I'm willing to share my email to anyone that needs to email me. But you can mainly find me, I suppose, on X at Juliette Bryant, you know, on X. But they might take my account away. So if you can't find me there, you can email me or you can contact Shaun. Shaun knows where I am.
So Juliette's links and contact will be in the description box below this video, viewers. Put in the comments. Let us know what you have thought. And huge thank you to you for just being so brave. I know it must be difficult going back in your mind to those places, but you've done tremendously. And, you know, you're carrying the spirit of Virginia forward. That's what you're doing right now. And we salute you for doing that, Juliette. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Shaun. And so are you, and so many. And thank you for everyone for caring. Let the spirit of Virginia reign and make the world a better place.
Indeed. All right. Thank you very much. I'm going to end this.